I grew up in what my parents always called a family first household in Ohio. But what it really meant was do whatever we say and clean up your brother's messes. My younger brother Mark has always been the golden child. When we were kids, if he broke something, I was the one scolded for not watching him. If he failed a class, I was forced to tutor him instead of going to track practice. It was always the same script. Mark makes a mistake, I'm expected to fix it. I worked hard to build a stable life. I went to college, got my MBA, and now work in operations for a mid-sized retail chain. My husband Alex, 39M, is a project manager at a construction company. He's everything my family isn't: calm, respectful, and supportive. Mark, on the other hand, never really got his act together. He's had a string of short-term jobs, constantly moving back in with my parents whenever something goes wrong. In the last 5 years alone, I've bailed him out of overdue car payments, helped him update his resume, and even let him crash at my apartment when he got evicted. He's charming, and every time he promises it'll be different. Every time I want to believe him. 3 months ago, my parents called me with yet another family favor. Mark had been unemployed for almost a year. They wanted me to ask Alex if there was an opening at his company. Alex's firm was taking on a new project and needed someone to help with supply tracking. Alex was hesitant. He's seen how my family operates. But after I begged and reassured him this was Mark's fresh start, he agreed to take the risk. He personally recommended Mark for an entry-level role. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady work with benefits. At first, everything seemed fine. Alex would come home and say, "Your brother showed up on time today," or "He's learning the system." I started to relax. Maybe this time it was finally going to work out. Then, 2 weeks after Mark passed his probation period, Alex came home looking like someone had punched him in the gut. He sat me down and said, "There's been an incident with Mark." My stomach dropped. He explained that several expensive tools, specialized power drills, and laser measuring devices worth thousands had gone missing from the warehouse. Security reviewed footage and caught Mark trying to load the equipment into the back of his car after hours. At first, Mark claimed he thought it was scrap. Who steals scrap and hides it under a tarp? Then he broke down and said he needed cash. Alex's company has zero tolerance for theft. They fired Mark on the spot. The only reason they didn't call the police was because Alex begged HR to let him handle it quietly for my sake. I was mortified. I texted Mark immediately, but he didn't reply. Instead, my phone blew up with calls from my parents. They weren't calling to ask what happened, they were calling to yell at me. According to them, Mark had told them the company framed him and Alex betrayed him. They demanded that I make Alex fix this and get Mark's job back. My father even said family is more important than some stupid tools. My mother cried, saying I'd ruined my brother's life by pushing him into a job he wasn't ready for. When I refused to ask Alex to rehire him, they accused me of choosing my husband over my brother and threatened to cut me off if I didn't make things right. Now I'm stuck between guilt and anger. Alex risked his reputation for my brother, and my brother burned him. But my parents are acting like I'm the villain. Reddit, am I the bad guy for refusing to pressure my husband to rehire my brother after he stole from the company? I didn't expect this much attention or the outpouring of support, but thank you. Reading through your comments actually made me cry. For once, people saw what I've been dealing with for years. A few days after I posted, things got worse. My parents showed up at my house unannounced. It was a Saturday morning. Alex was in the backyard fixing our deck, and I was cleaning up when the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there they were. My mother holding a casserole like it was some kind of peace offering, my father looking angry and self-righteous. The first words out of his mouth were, "We're not leaving until you call your husband's boss." They sat down in my living room and spent the next hour lecturing about family loyalty. They said Mark was emotionally fragile, that losing his job was too harsh, and that Alex should use his connections to get Mark a second chance. My mother even tried to guilt me by saying, "You've always had everything handed to you. Your brother just needs a break." I told them calmly that Mark stole, and Alex had already gone out of his way to keep the police out of it. My dad's response, "Everyone makes mistakes. That company makes millions. What's a few tools?" I honestly think something inside me broke in that moment. I told them point blank. If you can look me in the eye and tell me stealing thousands of dollars of equipment is no big deal, then we're done. My dad stood up and said, "You've become selfish ever since you married him," and stormed out. My mother followed, crying and saying, "You'll regret abandoning your family when we're gone." I haven't heard from them since that day, but I have heard from Mark. He texted me 2 nights later. "Thanks for ruining my life. Hope your perfect husband is proud of himself." Then, about a week later, a coworker of Alex sent him a screenshot from Facebook. Mark had made a public post claiming Alex lied to get him fired and took pleasure in destroying another man's livelihood. He even posted a photo of Alex's company logo and encouraged people to boycott them. That was the last straw for Alex. He told me, gently but firmly, that he didn't want Mark anywhere near our lives again. And honestly, I agreed. But my parents, they've doubled down. My aunt texted me that my mom told everyone at church that Alex ruined their son's future. Apparently, the story is that Alex framed Mark to make himself look good at work. I tried calling my mom to clear it up. She refused to listen and said, "You chose your side." So, I guess I did. I chose the side of honesty and boundaries. Still, I can't shake the guilt. Mark is my brother. I've always been his safety net, and part of me wonders if walking away makes me heartless. But another part of me, the exhausted, broken part, feels lighter for the first time in years. Alex says I finally stopped being their scapegoat. I just wish it didn't hurt this much to realize he's right. It's been about 3 weeks since my last post, and I wish I could say things calmed down. They didn't. They exploded. At first, the silence was almost peaceful. No calls, no guilt trips, no drama. Alex and I actually started sleeping better. We even talked about taking a weekend trip just to clear our heads. Then one evening, Alex came home with this grim look on his face. He said, "You might want to sit down." Turns out, the company's insurance team reopened the internal theft investigation because more equipment was reported missing, stuff from the same storage section Mark used to handle. When they reviewed older footage more closely, they realized he hadn't just stolen once. The night he was caught was just the final time. There were multiple incidents, spanning weeks. And here's the worst part. Some of the stolen tools had been listed for sale online, under a profile linked to Mark's email. Alex told me the company was now considering filing a full police report because their insurance provider demanded it. He said they'd tried to protect him before, but now their hands were tied. My heart dropped. I didn't even know what to feel. Anger? Shame? Maybe both. I texted Mark to warn him. He replied instantly, "Not my fault. Alex set me up." I couldn't believe it. I called him. He actually answered, and what followed was probably the ugliest conversation I've ever had. He was furious, swearing, saying Alex always looked down on him, and that I sold out my own family. When I told him they had proof, he said, "Then tell them you were the one using my email. You owe me that much after ruining everything." That was it for me. I told him I would never lie for him again, and hung up. 2 days later, my parents showed up again, this time with Mark. They came to my house at 8 a.m., no warning, pounding on the door until I opened it. Mark looked exhausted and angry. My father demanded that I tell the company to stop harassing his son. My mother kept crying about how cruel Alex has been. Alex came into the room halfway through, still calm but clearly done. He told them to leave or he'd call the police. My father actually laughed and said, "You think you're better than us because you have a job title?" Then, in front of all of us, Mark said, "You know what? Maybe I should go to the cops and tell them Alex threatened me." That was the moment everything went cold. Alex pulled out his phone, started recording, and said, "Say that again, Mark." Mark froze. My parents looked horrified. No one said a word. Then Alex quietly said, "Leave. Now." They did. That was 2 weeks ago. Yesterday, we got confirmation that the company officially filed a report. Mark is under investigation. I haven't spoken to my parents since that day, but my cousin called last night.
Apparently, they're telling everyone I destroyed my brother's life and turned him in to the police. At this point, I don't even care about defending myself. I just feel numb. Alex keeps reminding me that none of this is my fault, that Mark made his own choices. But growing up being blamed for everything makes it hard to unlearn. Still, there's a small part of me that feels free. For the first time in my life, the chaos isn't mine to fix. And maybe that's the real ending here. Not justice, not revenge, just peace. It's been just over 5 months since everything happened, and I wanted to post one last update, mostly for closure. Mark was officially charged with theft about 2 months ago. The company's security footage, online listings, and even text messages from his phone were more than enough evidence. He took a plea deal to avoid jail time, probation, restitution, and mandatory counseling. My parents tried to negotiate with the company's lawyer at first. Yes, really. But they quickly realized no one was buying the "he's just misunderstood" story anymore. They still blame Alex and me. They told relatives we ruined our own blood for money, and apparently they've gone no contact with us. But honestly, that's the piece I didn't know I needed. For years, I thought being a good daughter meant being endlessly forgiving, endlessly available, endlessly responsible for other people's mistakes. It took this disaster to realize that's not love, that's control, disguised as duty. Alex and I started therapy together, mostly to help me unpack all the guilt and resentment I'd been carrying. My therapist said something that stuck with me. Sometimes, the only way to stop being the family scapegoat is to walk off the stage entirely. That's exactly what I've done. We bought a small cabin 2 hours away, near a lake. I've been spending weekends there, reading, cooking, and trying to remember what peace feels like. No unexpected knocks on the door, no frantic calls to fix someone else's mess, just quiet. Mark hasn't tried to contact me since the charges. I hope he gets help, but I've accepted that it's no longer my job to save him. My parents might never forgive me, but for once, I can finally breathe without their expectations crushing me. To everyone who told me to stand my ground, thank you. You helped me realize that choosing myself wasn't selfish. It was survival. I don't know what the future holds for my family, but I know one thing for sure. I'm done being the one who holds the broken pieces together while everyone else keeps throwing stones.
If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.